Welcome to the Emotional Mastery Podcast. Tonight I have Mike Murphy, entrepreneur, author, philanthropist. I'm really excited to have this conversation. And like so often with the podcast, and I'm sure you experience it as well in your own, podcasting world, it's always these conversations are so like divine synchronicity. And a lot of what I've been processing and working through in my life recently, like hardcore, has been manifestation. So I think this is beautiful and perfect time to have this conversation.
Yeah,
so welcome to the podcast. And I'm just going to hand the floor over for you to tell your story, just sort of, any defining moments along the way that have gotten you to where you're at today. And we'll take it from there.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much. And thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. First of all, let me say, everybody's a manifester. Mm-hmm. Everything in your life you manifested. So it's not woo-woo. It's not magic. It's the way the world works. Okay. Now, most of us, until we learn, we're manifesting without intention. So therefore, in fact, speaking of Texas, there was a great motivational speaker there that I used to follow when I was younger named Zig Ziglar. And Zig Ziglar would say, listen, you're either a meaningful specific or a wandering generality. So what did he mean? If you're a wandering generality, you're all over the place. And I can really relate to these millennials that are working for me today that can't stay off their phone and can't focus and are scattered. They're wandering generalities. And until they become meaningful specifics, which means I'm focused on something, and that's what I teach. And once you're focused on something, once you create a powerful intention, then you can manifest it. But I promise you, I challenge your listeners, your viewers, to find one thing in their physical reality today, in their physical existence, look around. What's in there that didn't first start as a thought and a desire? Because that's how we manifest everything. So what I do with my life, and I've been doing it since 1982, for most of those years, it works miraculously, because this is how everything works. So what's my story? So I grew up in an alcoholic home. My father grew up with two alcoholic parents. I was fortunate I only had one. But the dilemma there was that my father, because he had two alcoholic parents, one died at 11, the other one died when he was a young man, burned to death, passed out with a lit cigarette, ruined her lungs. He never knew love. He never knew how to open his heart, accept love until the last hour of his life. And I was there, thank God. And so his whole life, now when he was drinking, he could at least pretend to fake it like he could feel a little love, or he could actually, I never saw my dad have a big belly laugh ever. He was just contracted, right? And that's what happens to a lot of people. All of us eventually, we grow up and we get hurt. Our parents say no, we get hurt. We're adolescents. They bully us. We have our puppy love, we get our heart crushed, and we keep contracting, and we move out of the heart and into the head. And I'll get to that in a second, why that's dangerous. But so I'm in this alcoholic home. My mother's a saint, but my dad was very difficult. We had a lot of emotional abuse, humiliation, shame, some physical abuse because I was the oldest of five. And so one time I'm a freshman in high school, 14 years old. I'm up at the neighbor's house and all the kids are having fun jumping on the trampoline and I'm miserable, but I can't tell you why. I just know one thing, I got to go. So I literally at 14 freshman, could you imagine? I got on a bus in downtown Cincinnati, got off 100 miles south in Lexington, Kentucky with $5 in my pocket and started hitchhiking. So as a mother, could you imagine? You have a 13-year-old. Could you imagine? Yeah, you imagine a year from now, your daughter just doesn't. And back then, there were no cell phones, or no beamers, or no internet, or no nothing. And I just don't come home from school. So my poor mother. So that was terrible. So I become a habitual runaway. I'm kicked out of every school I ever go to. I'm constantly being arrested. I'm constantly in juvenile hall. I'm constantly in court. And I lived that until I'm 18. And then at 21, literally just turned 21, I found some woman dumb enough to marry me. And at 23, on my birthday, at age 23, my daughter is born. I got a drinking problem. I got a drug problem. I don't have a job. I have an 8th grade education. I'm 40 grand in debt. I have no money, no future, no nothing. And I'm living with her. She's the oldest of 6. I'm living with her parents, her 5 siblings, and now my brand new baby. And when my baby was 2 months old, I looked in the mirror and I said, dude, you are a loser. But frankly, that didn't bother me that much. But what did bother me is everybody in that house knew I was a loser. So I felt that humiliation and shame. So what do? I run away. And I didn't even own a car. I pick all my clothes and I put it in one of their cars, one of their old beat up jalopies, and I just take off. And typical pattern, I party for a week. I write every bad check I can and take advantage of everybody I can. A week later, I call her up. I say, okay, I'm ready to come home. No, I don't think so. So and I couldn't get drunk. The alcohol wasn't working. Nothing was working. Man, I was in a bad place. So I actually went to the steps of the Catholic Church where we'd been married just a few years earlier. And I said, okay, God, if you exist, and I don't believe you do, but if you exist, you can certainly materialize yourself, become form. I can touch you, talk to you, and then believe in you, and then change my life. And so God came down. No. But by the grace of God, the next day I ended up in a 12-step program. And for the first time, I felt, oh, maybe there's a little hope for me, right? But because now I've lost my family, my daughter and my wife, I just can't stick with it. You know, I might go 90 days and then buy an 8-ball. I might go 90 days and go buy a bottle of vodka, right? So I, instead of becoming a constant drunk and drug person, I became a binge, right? And so, but I was able to, I got a job, I started waiting tables, and I started to try to put things together, but I just couldn't sustain it. So a couple of years after this, now my daughter's 2 years old instead of 2 months. I'm in this 12-step program, and this guy says, a buddy of mine says, Mike, geez, I've never seen somebody as messed up as you. And I'm only 24 at the time. And, but he goes, I may know somebody that can help you. And he introduced me to this amazing man. I had no idea what I was getting into. His name was Doug Fitzgerald. And my first book, Love Unfiltered, that I wrote, published in 2014, when I wrote, I couldn't remember his name. And so I just called him the mystery man. When I wrote The Creation Freak in 2018, I said, I got to know who this guy is, right? So I hired a private investigator, found he had passed away, found his son, and I got the whole download. I found out who this guy was, why he was teaching what he was teaching, and then things started to make sense because what he taught me was so amazing and so effective in changing my life, and it is today more so than ever, and because it's the way the universe works. And so basically he said, Mike, you come here 1 hour a week for 7 weeks, and I promise you will get everything you want in your life. And it's $50 a week. Well, I didn't have 50 cents, but I had a checkbook. And so we set an appointment. I show up the next week. I'm literally in $100 car, Ford Pinto. It's been an accident. The door won't shut. So I'm in Northern California. It's freezing cold, raining. I got to roll down the window, put my hand out to keep the door shut so it doesn't fly open while I'm driving. That's how bad I was. So I only share this. I really don't like to talk about my past. I prefer to stay in the present moment or a compelling, beautiful, bright future. I'm only sharing this with you and your audience so that people can understand, no matter where you are, okay? I've been there. You know, I've dealt with almost every drug there is to deal with. I've been in jail numerous times. I've been kicked out of every school I ever went to. And so I get it, you know, and my point is that if I can turn it around from where I was, I know that you can too. So that's the thing. So what did he teach me? He says, Mike, to have a successful life, it's got to be in balance. So we're going to break your life into 6 areas. Okay. You have family, you have career, you have money, you have personal development, you have contribution, these kind of things. So each week, we're going to work on one area of your life. He says, what do you want most in your life right now, today? I said, this woman hates my guts. She's the mother of my 2-year-old daughter. I want her back. And I don't want some idiot raising my kid. And that's because the pain that I was going through, you know, through this, we were divorced now, and, you know, she's dating a doctor and I can't get my act together. And I really, really wanted to manifest my marriage back and my daughter back into my life. He said, well, okay, I want you to understand something very, very important right now. There's no difference between imagination and reality. If you can imagine it, and you can feel it, and you can see it and believe it, you can achieve it. You can bring it into your physical life. I said, okay. He said, what we're going to do right now, you're going to write an intention as if it already exists of your ex-wife and your daughter back together as a family. Okay. That sounded really weird to me and very painful, actually. But he gives me a blank piece of white paper and a pencil. And he says, okay, start writing. And I go, Lisa and I are happily married. Lisa and I are so happily married. Our daughter, Michelle, thrives in this marriage. Blah, blah, blah. And maybe one or two paragraphs of this vision of this happy family and love and everything, right? What do you want next week, Mike? I want to own my own business. What do you want after that? I want to own my own house. What do you want after that? I want to run a marathon. What do you want after that? Let's see, house. Oh, I want to make $10,000 a month. I never made more than $2,000 a month. So, because he encouraged me to dream big. I mean, listen, I have an 8th grade education. I want to own my business. I've never made more than $2,000 a month. I want to own 10,000. I got no credit but bad credit. Okay, no one's going to give me a mortgage, right? So, but dream big, Mike. Dream big. Okay, anything is possible. There's no difference between imagination and reality. So here's where the magic took place. So after 6 weeks, I have 6 intentions on just white lined paper with written in pencil, 1 or 2 paragraphs for 6 areas of my life, the things I want to manifest. Week 7, he brings out a boom box. Now you probably never even had one, but that's what we used to listen to music on back in the day. Okay. And so he brings out this boom box and he's got a cassette tape. That's what they used to put music on. And he puts it in this boom box and he says, I'm going to play some Theta brainwave music. While you, on the other hand, he hands me a microphone attached to a tape recorder and he puts in a blank cassette tape. You are going to record this relaxation script that I've written for you. It's about 2 pages. And then you're going to read your 6 intentions into the microphone. I'm going to record it and we'll be finished. Okay. So I do all that. And then he hands me the cassette tape and he says, here's a very important thing. Every morning, right when you wake up, when you're going from Delta into Theta brainwave, I want you to listen. Now, I don't know why he's telling me any of this. I don't know what any of this means. Obviously, I do today because it's been 40 years of studying this stuff. And every night, right before you fall asleep, you're coming out of beta, you're going into alpha. When you get in theta, you're going to listen. So that's the best time. Because what I know now, I didn't know it then. I was so desperate. I had no hope. Here was a guy promising me some hope, and I was just going to follow the simple directions. Now I know what he was doing. He was putting me in a theta brainwave state, which is a self-hypnotic trance, by relaxing my body, getting my brainwaves to slow down into theta. And it's in that state, and that's the state we're in from birth to about age 8. We're in theta brainwave state. We're in a hypnotic trance. Why? Because that's how children learn. That's how they learn to be part of the tribe, part of the community. So these little kids, they can't critically think. They're not thinking. They're absorbing through osmosis from their parents, from the media, from their friends, from the school. That's how we learn. It's, by hearing, seeing, feeling, and we're absorbing it with no judgment. So we're being programmed. Okay, get this, ladies and gentlemen. You've been programmed to believe whatever your parents thought was the truth, whatever the media at the time was teaching you, and whatever your school and your friends. You've been programmed to believe stuff, and odds are you probably never questioned it. Mm-hmm. And the truth of the matter is, 95% of the time we're operating from our subconscious, right? And so that's the program part of us. The conscious part is right now. You and I are both in our conscious mind having a conversation. But 95% of the time, the subconscious is running the show, and the subconscious is like a program, right? An app. It's someone download an app. It's in our subconscious. And so that's why we get triggered. You might say something to me, kind as can be, but it reminds me of something my dad said or something, and I might get triggered, and have an emotional trigger. And where it becomes very important is with your spouse or your children. We don't want to fly off the handle. We want to understand what's going on here. So I just follow these simple directions. Within 4 months, I own my own business. And I want to talk about subconscious in a minute, but I'm just going to go through these scenarios real quick. 4 months, I own my own business. 2 years after listening to this, and I wasn't religious about it. But I did the best I could. The ex-wife calls me up, says, hey, I need a date for this Christmas party. Will you escort me? I take her, we get remarried, we have 3 more beautiful kids. So it was a huge blessing in my life. It's really stabilized me and got me off drugs and alcohol. And I could really create a life of wealth and health and good things. And so the marathon I wanted to run, I got to mile 20. I blew out my Achilles. We bought our own house 4 years, 1 year after getting back together with no money down. So it works, and this process works. So what I've done since, we have the Creation Frequency book, very simple, easy book to read, tons of reviews. Check it out on Amazon. Don't take my word for it, but we have an app. And in the app, in the Creation Frequency app, which works really good on Apple right now, and Android, we're having a few little glitches. So stay with us. It'll be fixed in a week or two. But we have created an app, which is a tape recorder embedded with Theta brainwave music. And you can read your own relaxation script and record it, or we've done one for you. So if people, the problem I have to inspire people to care enough about themselves to invest 4 or 5 hours to get the intentions going, understand how that process works. We have an intention writing formula, and then just record them and listen every morning, every night. The challenge I find is getting people to care enough about themselves, or they've tried it. Everybody's, well, I've tried manifestation, I've tried law of attraction, but they never stay with it long enough, and they probably don't know what they're doing. The way that we teach and the way that we do it, it must work. Now, you might not get what you intend, your original intention was, because you're, in my mind, I'm co-creating with the creator of all, which I call God. So I might, like right now, I'm in Medellin, Colombia. We're building an amazing detox healing retreat center. And so that was the intention, right? But it keeps evolving, as we get downloads from God, and our team gets other ideas. So the intention is always the same. It just keeps getting bigger and better. And so that's how this works. So there's my story. There's story number one, there's story number two, but we may not get to story number two.
Yeah. I mean, I know, like, as I was like listening and having questions, I mean, you're taking the like question out of it. I mean, like offering people just an app to go, and you have the frequencies because that's what I was going to say. Like, how can people find the frequencies, and how can people find the script? And then you were just like, it's right there for you. So, I mean, it's just, it makes it so easy. And when I found out,
how do we get them to take action and do it? That's,
I know, right? So
help me. Yeah, help me. Well, I mean, so I do it a lot. I have an online course as well. I do a lot of podcasts. In our healing retreat center, of course, we teach manifestation. It's the first week is physical detox, matter changing matter. The second week we get into energy work, consciousness work, emotional healing work, moving. This is very important. I want to share this with you and your audience, is that I really believe that everybody that comes to planet Earth and takes on one of these human bodies, at some point they must take a journey, and it's only 18 inches long. It's moving from here to here. Why? This is a supercomputer, but left to its own devices, it can be very, very dangerous. See, my mind can lie to you. My mind can cheat you. My mind can manipulate you. My mind is dangerous. But when I moved to my heart and I started living from this beautiful heart, which is really where my soul is, my connection to source, my love, my gratitude, my true essence, my internal timeless consciousness is here. And someday it's going to exit this vessel called a human body, made up of 50 trillion individual living conscious cells that decided to work together to give this little heart and soul an experience in the physical reality. Someday I'm going to leave it. But when I live from here, now I can use this supercomputer. This is a supercomputer. There's a lot of talk about AI right now, and everybody's afraid about it. I don't think AI can even surpass this, because this is the subconscious mind, yours right now, mine right now, and all your listeners, is taking in over 1 million bits of information every second. Let me say it again, 1 million bits of data or information my subconscious mind is taking in every second. It's controlling all my bodily functions. It's aware of everything in my environment. It's managing so many things, it's not even funny. But it can only deliver 40 pieces of data to my conscious mind. Why? Because that's all my conscious mind can handle. I can't talk to you and read a book at the same time. I can only focus a little bit from the conscious mind, right? So what 40 bits, and the subconscious decides what to deliver to my conscious mind. How does it decide? How does it know? Based on what I tell it, based on what it hears from me, based on what it feels from me. So if I walk around all day and go, man, my life sucks, man, I just can't buy a break. Gosh darn it, nothing ever goes right for me. That subconscious mind is going through those million bits of information, finding 40 bits of information delivered to this conscious mind that it's self-fulfilling prophecy. It's going to find more reasons to reinforce that belief system that I'm a loser, more experiences that I'm a loser. And what happens when I have these lousy thoughts? This amazing supercomputer brain of mine is making chemicals, and those chemicals now go into my body. So lousy thought, chemicals, lousy chemicals into my body that create fear, too much adrenaline, cortisol, whatever. Now I feel terrible. And so what do most of us want to do? We don't want to feel terrible. So we'll do some sort of action subconsciously so we don't feel bad. So that might be go get a drink. That might go promiscuity. That might be go gambling. That might, some kids that they're cutting themselves and stuff. Who knows what we're going to do to get out of pain? You know, it's pain or pleasure, right? Mm-hmm. So when we're feeling pain, we're going to go find pleasure. But we're not going to analyze it. We're not going to do it consciously because we've lost our awareness. We're not conscious anymore. Now we're operating from the subconscious. Now, if your subconscious was programmed like my subconscious, you're gonna get angry. You're gonna run away. You're gonna drink. You're gonna use drugs. You're gonna do anything to avoid feeling this. Once we figure all this out and we start living from this beautiful heart, and the more we got to open it. You know, this is what we do at Mountains of Hope, our retreat center. Every night we have a opening heart ceremony, a healing coherence ceremony. We want people to get in here and not be afraid of this. Feelings aren't going to kill you. A thought might. The wrong thought might kill you. The wrong feeling's not going to kill you. So we're living backwards, right? So if I have a thought long enough that my life sucks and I should jump off my balcony and I'm on the 16th floor, you know, are you familiar with a woman named Byron Katie?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I love her work. I love her work, which is called The Work with thework.com. But here's what she said. She said the worst thing any human being can ever be found guilty of is believing a thought that's not true. Mm-hmm. That's it. Mm-hmm. Every crime, every bad starts with a thought, unquestioned thought. And we believe something that's not true and we take an action. And for some of us, that might mean the rest of our life in prison. For some of us, that might mean an early death. For some of us, that might be injuring or killing someone else. So that's why we got to live here and then use this consciously and try to stay awake and out of that unconscious part of our life as much as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When I realized that not everything that is said in here is actually true, it just like changed. And I have to like constantly remind myself, like I'll notice myself moving through my day and like that voice just being so loud and like narrating everything. And I'm like, okay, let's just find another way to rephrase this or move about. Cause it's just like, it doesn't ever stop. It's just like,
it won't stop.
Going.
It won't stop.
No, it's like,
and that's why, that's why I'm really starting to embrace more and more meditation. Because what I've realized lately, especially, I've been doing a lot of work with Dr. Joe Dispenza, and his guided meditations are so powerful. His workshops are so powerful. But what's interesting, you know, we have these two eyes that are always looking out. The truth of the matter is, and we have a third eye, which is internal, but the truth of the matter is everything we will ever need is already within. Okay. So we need to close our eyes, go within, and realize and find the truth, because it will come. We will find it. We just got to sit still and be conscious and awake and aware long enough, and we can find it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love meditation, but, and I so often I feel like people's hesitation with it is like, I can't quiet my mind. I'm like, that's not necessarily always the point, right? Like eventually it would be beautiful to get there, but it's not.
Rochelle, nobody can, you don't quiet your mind until you take your last breath. And I'm not sure you do then either. Okay. Yeah. You're going to thoughts come and go. And so that's why I tell people, hey, that's part of meditating. That's the biggest part of it. If you're not getting any thoughts, you got problems. Mm-hmm. Okay. So the thing is, don't chase those thoughts. Or like I get a thought and then I chase it down with one more thought and then another thought. And then I catch myself and then I bring it back thought at a time, back to where we started. Wait for the next thought. Try not to chase it. Just let it go by. Okay. But the main thing is what I'm trying to do is take the energy out of my body, especially the lower energy sections of my body. You know, the root chakra and the sexual chakra and the will chakra. I want to bring those into my heart chakra and beyond, because when I start moving energy up from my lower energy centers, you know, because listen, we all want food and sex and and no fear, security, right? But the truth of the matter is, those are this is bare minimum basics for a life, right? So and we shouldn't be consumed with that stuff. That's part of life, but it's a very small part of life. But we get consumed with sex, we get consumed with food, we get consumed with fear. So we live in these lower energy centers. And what's going on up here? Not much. So what I try to do is bring that energy up into my heart first, and then into my throat chakra, and open my pineal gland, the crown chakra, and then my light body, and focus on all that. And then some meditations are better than others, but it's a work in process. It's an ongoing thing. I don't care who the meditator is. There's always, it's like golf. I love golf, but you're never going to master golf. You're never going to master life. You're never going to master meditation. It's a journey, and just enjoy the journey.
Yeah, exactly. And I think specifically with meditation too, I think I've had like a handful of them that are like, it's almost like I was on drugs, right? But it's only a handful. And then you try and chase it afterwards, and it's never going to happen again. I mean, not that it's never going to happen again, but it's few and far between. And that's also not the point of it, right? It's enjoy those moments when they come, and just take the meaning of what you received and move through your day with it.
I would say a mystic experience, in my experience, is 5 to 10% of the time. I had one last night. Okay. So when they happen, they are super profound, and just reinforces your belief system, opens your heart even more, quiets your mind even more, increases your energy. And the one last night, it almost shocked me. All of a sudden it just started, Dr. Joe talks a lot about, he talks a lot about moving the energy and popping open the pineal gland. This was a whole nother mystical experience I had last night. But what he talks about, like, you got to do the work. And then, like a thief in the night, you might have a mystical experience every once in a while. But you never know. But if you don't sit down and try, you're never going to have one.
Exactly. The last one I had, I was like, my kids were running around, and I was like witnessing myself having this experience. And I was like, whoa, should I stop this? Because I'm like not even in my body, and my kids.
But you don't want to.
No.
Screw the kids.
Right.
Yeah.
They were fine.
I hear you.
But I like, when it comes to meditation, I think, we were talking too about like just all this scrolling and all this like distractions and stuff, I think that's one of the challenging things about meditation, is because it is just you and yourself. And you had mentioned, emotional, like being in your body and emotional regulation and your physical health. And I think sometimes there is so much resistance because you're coming to that space where there's no distractions, right? And it's like your body wants, your ego is like, oh, well, go check your phone, or you heard something buzz, or someone in the other room, or the dog needs this, or the kid needs this. So it's like, how do you like stop all of that? And I think that's part of the challenge of meditation, right? It's just controlling your body.
Amen.
But yeah.
Yes.
Do you have any like tips for people?
Listen, one of my favorite books, it came out a long time ago, but it's called The Road Less Traveled by M. Scott Peck. And what I love about it, the first line of the book, all of us personal development people, we want to rah, 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 blah, blah. First line of the book is life is difficult. And I love that. Because life is, kids get cancer, people get in car wrecks, innocent people are harmed. Life can be very difficult and challenging, but we got to overcome it. We got to keep getting up and keep trying. This is my big message for the world today, right now, as I see it. Everybody wants to be a victim, and the media is feeding this, and the governments are feeding this. Well, when you're a victim, you have no power. You've given up your power. We are here to create. We are powerful creators. We just got to be reminded of that. We got to remember that. We got to remember how to do it. We got to learn how to do it. And when we start creating, guess what? Now my power's back. But here's the situation. Before I quit being a victim and become a creator, I have to take responsibility for everything in my life. And once I do that, that's not, if I'm sitting here with cancer, or I have some health issues myself, I need to own those. I can't blame my genetics. I know the truth. I know what I could have done better. I know why some of these things manifested, and I need to own that. Once I own it and I don't blame it on someone, now I can fix it, because I've maintained my power. And I think we all have it. And I love playing the victim card. Hey, my dad was one of the greatest victims I've ever met. And so I inherited a lot of that behavior. And there's nothing better than being a victim and being wronged and having self-righteous anger. It's the greatest feeling in the world, but it's all bullshit. Excuse me.
That's okay. Yeah, I think that's also part of the challenge, and I mean, of course, and I think that's the biggest question is like, how do I get from there to like taking full responsibility? And, you mentioned like family stuff. And I think that's like definitely one of the biggest challenges. And I think it was Ram Dass who was like, if you think you're healed, spend a weekend with your family, because it's like all of your biggest triggers come out, right? And it's like, you've been given this label and this role from birth, right? You are going to
Yes.
act this way. You are selfish, or you are this, or you are that.
Yep.
And you don't even question it. Like you said, that 0 to 8, you're in
Yep.
that theta brainwave state and you're in the
Yep.
subconscious and you're taking all these stories on. So it's understandable why we have so much resistance to it.
Yep.
And
Yep.
also it's, again, it is that question, right? And that's always like, I feel like it's kind of like always asking that, like, how do we get there? How do we stop playing the victim? How do we
Yes.
take responsibility? And because there's so much potential for us, right? Like we are
Yes.
infinite, and all of it is, whatever modality you're using is a tool to remember, like you said, that space right here and like
Right.
moving out of here into here.
Right.
But it's like this just gets so in the way.
Yeah, but once you really start doing this a lot, then you can kind of laugh at this. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, because it comes up with some crazy bullshit, right?
Yeah, it
And
does.
then what's really cool about it is now, on those rare occasions when I'm in the States, and I always tell people, I know how to drive anybody crazy in 30 days. For 30 days, every night, you watch an hour of Rachel Maddow, and then you watch an hour of Sean Hannity. And I promise you, you will go nuts because there's one story, two completely different narratives,
Mm.
and neither one of those are true. Right. So I really believe that when you're living from your heart, you see this, it just honestly just becomes funny
Mm-hmm.
and confusing at times, but you don't get sucked in anymore. This heart is loves the present moment in a beautiful future, right? And so the past, most of our thinking is regret, guilt, bullshit from the past, right? Or fear, if something going on, fear based. And when we live here full of love and especially gratitude, I think gratitude is one of the most powerful emotions. Now I try to start my day every day with gratitude, and it's just easier.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier. And this creation frequency process that I teach in this app and this manifestation, it works. So there's no excuses. Now some people have a more difficult opportunity than others. For example, I was born 1957 in the United States of America, white. Do you think I had a better chance of becoming successful than someone born in Palestine that day or someone born in Africa? Now, I had other challenges. So from a financial and from a mental standpoint, I think I was born with, I was surrounded by smart people. And from an opportunity, we were middle class in America in the 60s, which was a great time. I mean, it was an unbelievable time. It's almost hard to believe we went through it. But I also had a challenging father, a challenging home life. So we're all dealt different cards, right? But but no matter what situation we find ourselves in, we can always get better, and no matter what we go through, we have a choice. If it's something very difficult, like I lost my wife in 2011, it was very, very devastating to me. Not my wife that I manifested to marry me a second again, but my third wife, or my second wife, I should say. And I lost her after a 9-year battle with breast cancer, the devastation. And so we can either go through these tough experiences and we can either become better and flourish through them, or we become bitter. And when we become bitter, we become the victim. And then, so I look at the world, I'm down here in Medellin, Colombia. I mean, I love it here, but half these people are living in poverty. And so what can we do to help them? See, my big thing is, and the mystery man taught me this as well, contribution. We have to have some sort of contribution goal. So what we're doing is to try to, what we call conscious capitalism. We sell wealthy people to come to our retreat center and have this amazing, profound experience. But for every retreat we have, and we only have like 16, 17 people, for every retreat we have, we give a scholarship to a woman below the poverty line that's been recently diagnosed with cancer, or we give a scholarship to a military veteran coming back from Afghanistan and Iraq with PTSD. 25 of those guys a day commit suicide because no one's taking care of them. We give a scholarship to one of those. And so when they come here, they learn to detox the physical body. We actually really do it for them. They're just along for the ride. And then we get into the next week. Now we get into consciousness and energy. And so we're super excited to be, but we're not helping a lot of people, but we're doing the best we can.
Mm-hmm.
And there's 7 billion people in the world right now, Rochelle, allegedly. And if half of the 7 billion would lift up someone less fortunate, and that could be a smile, that could be buying them a bag of groceries, that could be babysitting their kids for whatever it is. What would happen is we would change the consciousness, and the consciousness would rise for one of gratitude and love and service. And then all this craziness that we see out there, I think would just dissolve. We live in duality. So you have black and white, you have hot and cold. You're always going to have good and evil. I think right now, you look at the yin yang symbol, it's half black, half white. I think it's gotten a little too dark. And so we need to push some of that negative energy back and realize who we are. And how do we do that? If you look at it, we're so divided in so many areas and so many subjects: black, white, Christian, Muslim, gay, straight, Democrat, Republican, Trump, Biden. I mean, come on. Okay. We're all in this together. If you suffer, I'm suffering. I have my individual consciousness. I can control that. But there's a collective consciousness that all 7 billion of us. And so that's the energy that can affect us. Why do we wake up some days we're just sad? We don't know why. There's a collective. They really measured this on 9/11. They saw the emotional collectiveness go way down. So, and they've also done cities where they'll take a city and they'll do nothing but pray and meditate for 24 hours, and they'll see crime go down, consciousness go up. So it's all energy. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Mm-hmm.
It's all energy, vibration, and frequency. Tesla told us. You want to understand the universe? Energy, vibration, and frequency. And that's really what's all going down. And so everything else is really an illusion. Now, I don't know if we want to get into that, but that's the truth.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree. And I think, even, what you're doing, making impact on those lives, and then those lives are going to go make impact on other lives, and that's how it
the
starts.
Ripple effect.
Exactly.
Yes.
And you have to start somewhere. And so even just like you said, there is so much darkness out there, and there is so much, but like coming back in here and then just raising yours, and then you're influencing your energy around you and the people you come into contact with. Right. So it is the ripple effect. And I think, it always gets darker before the dawn, or whatever it's darkest before the dawn. Right. And so I think the fact that there is so much darkness right now. Yeah. It's showing us that there is a change coming. Like, I think it's inevitable. So that's at least my beliefs. And
let me tell you what I think. You tell me what you think. I feel as if, and I think this has happened many times before. I think everything's a pattern. I like this saying, if you and I walk through the jungle today, the forest today, half the forest is dead, half the forest is alive. If we come back 100 years from now and we walk through the same forest, the other half is now death and the other half is now alive. Life is a big circle, right? And so there's patterns, and there's energy patterns. And I believe that a couple things. One, we're going from a masculine energy, which perhaps we've been going through the last 26,000 years. I don't know. I think things started to shift December 21st, 2012, the end of the Mayan calendar. And I feel we're going to a feminine energy. So the masculine energy, what is it? It's domination, penetration, control. And what is feminine energy? Nurturing, loving, And so I think we're making that switch. Okay. But it takes time to fully envelop that. Right. And so I think the Bible would call what we're going through now the apocalypse. What does apocalypse mean? It just means lifting of the veil. All that's happening is, whoa, we're starting to see, whoa, look at all that. Look at, whoa. And so we're awakening, and that masculine energy is trying to hang on to the power, and they're having, as more and more of us wake up, it's getting harder and harder to hang on, and more people are embracing the light, embracing these teachings, embracing what you do. I mean, I think everybody in the country now has a podcast. So we just got to find more listeners.
Yeah.
Everybody in the United States is a podcast, coach, or influencer. But I'm just kidding. But so that's what I think is happening. And so, like you said, it's always darkest at the light of dawn, and then boom. So I'm excited. Actually, I told you I had a podcast. I got censored, and so I had to cool that. But now I'm excited. Now I'm just coming from a positive place of love and service, and let's work our ways through this together, united, and we'll be okay.
Yeah. And I think you know, finding that balance between the masculine and the feminine. And I think, you know, obviously in that, in sort of going through a more like feminine society or structure or whatever, the masculine's just like kind of freaking out a little bit. It's like, what about me? And not wanting to like give up that control, you know? But, you know, I mean, I teach human design, I teach astrology. That's sort of like one of my modalities to just like remembering who you are. I think it's really supportive for people who are attracted to that sort of, you know, energy. But even in astrology, right? Like age of Aquarius, I mean, there's just so much collectively that we can see from, you know, patterns and aspects that are happening now. And there's so much now that's happening that is like once in a lifetime stuff, like once in hundreds of years. Right. So it's just incredible to see from that lens too. It's like all of these shifts are happening. It's written in the stars, literally. And it's like, we're never going to see this stuff again. Like, it's just, that blows my mind too. Right. And so it's just, yeah, there's just so much change happening. And I think, you know, it's so important, you know, this conversation in coming back here to remember, because it's easy to get ungrounded, and that's where we're being called to.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And you mentioned the body, and I kind of want to go back to that a little bit, because I feel like the body is so important. It's such an important piece to all of it too, because it's like we can be as spiritual as we want and meditate as much as we want. And I think, you know, being able to nourish our body or detox our body, right, it just kind of enhances that connection a little bit. So when you're moving people through that sort of like detox phase of your program, like what does that look like?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So it's a the first week is pretty heavy duty physical detox, right? And it's a solid food vacation, juice feasting, and then we give you enzymes to really clean the colon and the gut. Then we're setting you up for a liver gallbladder flush, so we're softening those stones. And then you, on the 5th or 6th day, you drink some virgin olive oil, and the next day all the stones come out. So that's the heavy duty part, right? And then at the same time, we give you IVs with nutrients and vitamins that you need. We give you injections that you need. So we're putting that stuff back in. We grow 50 different fruits and vegetables on our farm. You can literally go into the garden, pull out your broccoli, your beets, whatever you want to make your juice of, walk it into the kitchen, stick it in the juicer. Now you got and our soil here is so rich. We're 7,000 feet in the Andes Mountains, and the soil is untouched. And so it's so rich. You make this juice. It just nourishes you. At the same time, we put you in an infrared sun. At the same time, we give you coffee enema or show you how to do a coffee enema. We have pulse electromagnetic frequency pads that you lay on. We got zero gravity chairs that massage you and move your lymph system. We got a gymnasium. We got cold water plunges. We got jacuzzis. We got a pool. We got a yoga studio. We got a spa and wellness center. We got a conference center. We got a sweat lodge where we do sweat lodge ceremonies. So that's the first week, is cleaning this body. Now, why are we doing that? Well, the next week, we're going to give you the opportunity, if you wish, to do sacred plant medicine. And the cleaner the body, the more spiritual and sacred that experience is going to be. Because if you don't clean the body, you're going to spend about 6 hours sitting on the toilet with a big bucket in your hand that you can throw up into. But the reason we use or offer plant medicine, because especially with the military guys, the PTSD, so many people are being healed by it. It's a 6-hour powerful journey. Ayahuasca is called grandmother. And we only encourage people that are physically fit enough and that they feel it's being called. We don't want anybody to do this under peer pressure. So if they don't want to do the ayahuasca, we just do a very powerful meditation, or we could do some mushrooms, or we can do rapé, which is tobacco. There's so many things but we want to change the consciousness. We want to open the mind to all these other possibilities. You know, this plant medicine they've been using down here in South America for centuries upon centuries. And all it is bark from a tree in the Amazon that's been prayed over and turned into a tea for 3 days. So it's not going to hurt you, but we're going to make sure it's very safe and effective. And so that's really our retreat. And so the whole thing is, it's ideally for people that want to heal something, whether it's something physically or something mentally or something emotionally, and also people that want to experience transformation that lasts. You know, I've been to all these programs and done all this stuff, but what sticks? And so we're going to really program that subconscious mind, get this to stick. You know, when you leave here, you're going to have a morning routine that works for you. And then we follow you and we hold you accountable for the next year. If you like, we're not going to bug you, but we offer that because we really want people to realize there's so many ways to heal, but the power is within, you know, and at least try that way. And then let's say they are going through a cancer treatment, Western medicine treatment or something. Well, we know one thing, whether it works or not is debatable, but we do know one thing for sure, it ruins the immune system. So if nothing else, if they are doing some sort of Western medicine treatment, or at least show them how to strengthen their immune system. And the other beautiful thing about our retreat, so the first week we have an hour in the morning, an hour in the evening of education. You know, what is candida? What is heavy metal? Are you heavy metal? And we encourage people to get tested before they come. Heavy metal testing, blood work, some genetic markers, some microbiome. You know, we want to know what's going on because it's doctor supervised detox. We have a dentist. We check, you know, we want to know what's going on here because if your mouth is a mess, the body needs help. We need to fix this before the body's going to work. And so there's so many things that people don't know. I didn't learn any of this stuff. You know, I told you there's story number 2, and that happened in 2002 when my 29-year-old girlfriend at the time was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer. She had a golf ball sized tumor right here that I found. And so we spent 9 years, we eventually got married in the middle of this, but we spent 9 years together battling cancer. And as a result of that, it was her death that really finally opened my heart. You know, I knew how to become successful and all that, but she would tell me every day, Mike, you got to learn to be vulnerable. And I didn't know what she's talking about. She said it a million times to me. And finally, after she died, I knew what she meant. Okay. I was as vulnerable as you could be. And it was in that devastation of loss and grief that finally God was able to come in, fillet open my heart, take out all the arrogance, all the BS, all the selfishness, and replace it with love. And so that started my really major transformation. Okay. One thing is to do good in the physical world. The other thing is to do good in the non-physical world. And as a result of that, literally weeks after she had passed, a friend called me up and said, hey, my sister-in-law has stage 4 breast cancer. She's 38, same age as my wife that just passed away. Do you think she needs an oncologist because she's moving down here for better care? Can you take her to my late wife's name was Margot? Can you take her to Margot's oncologist? I said, sure. Her name was Amanda. So we go there and he orders some tests. And so Amanda's single, not married. She's got 3 kids. She's African-American. She doesn't have good insurance. She has no extra resources. She doesn't have, you know, much. My late wife was amazing personality, but everybody loved her. I was always there with her. We had resources. We had great insurance. What I noticed then, I went to 4 or 5 appointments with Amanda, a couple surgeries. They put a port in, this and that. And what I realized is that she was treated much differently than we were. And I was just the observer. And I just observed it and didn't say nothing, felt uncomfortable at times, but I wasn't my place. I barely know this woman, right? And so we go back to my late wife's oncologist, and he says, Amanda, the best protocol to extend your life are these 3 chemotherapies simultaneously. Unfortunately, your insurance company will only pay for one. So that's all I can give you. I got to tell you, I didn't realize that whether you live or die or you get healthy or get treated depends on whether you have money or not. I really didn't. I just said, hey, here's my credit card. You give her whatever she needs. I didn't even think about it. Just said, here. And that became the Love for Margot Foundation. And I've literally sat with close to 200 women battling cancer, and they're all below the poverty line. They didn't have any money. And after 4 or 5 years of this, I'm giving financial grants. The theory was, they don't have money to begin with. They get sick. Now they can't work. Their expenses go up, and there was no safety net. I'm talking about African-American women in Oakland. I'm talking about Mexican women that came across the border illegally in La Quinta, California, or Palm Springs, California. They came here to pick our vegetables, clean our hotel rooms, work on our golf courses, and they get exposed to 151 known chemicals that cause breast cancer, and they don't have insurance. So that's even a bigger nightmare. So I've seen all this horror, all this nightmare, and so after 4 or 5 years, I go, okay, this is not working, because most cases, very seldom would my financial grant get them through this. And because we give them $1,000 a month for 5 months, and then they come out 5 months later and they're back to work. Very seldom did that happen. Most times, sicker, death, and it was not pretty, and it's a terrible, terrible death. And so I said, okay, this is not working. What can I do now? I go, okay, I'm going to buy water purifiers. I'm going to buy juicing machines. I'm going to buy vegetables, and I'm going to try to teach them to strengthen their immune system. Well, now they think I'm their doctor and I'm a car salesman. So I go, okay, this is not working out too good. So that's why I'm down here in Colombia now, where hopefully now we have a way that we can help these women.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, that's amazing that you're, supporting them in whatever way you can. And yeah, I think that's really, really powerful. How, like, in your program now, in the retreat that you're doing now, what is like the most, or I guess the biggest transformation that you've seen?
Well, let me tell you something. So I moved to Medellin in 2015. It took me a year to find this beautiful, amazing, there's mountainsofhope.com if you want to see how beautiful it is. Took me till 2016 to find that. Then we started, I don't know what I'm doing. Like I said, I'm a car dealer, right? I don't know anything about anything. And so I started fooling around with retreats. We do one doctor supervised. It was kind of I wasn't happy. Then we started fooling around. We do some ayahuasca retreats, and then we do some yoga retreats. And I just couldn't find the right formula. Then I fell in love with my attorney and got married. And we took a 1-year honeymoon and got married 3 different times and 3 different locales. And then, okay, boom, let's get this going again. And guess what hit? COVID. And so when the country of Colombia said, hey, no visitors here unless you're vaccinated, I said, hey, listen, I don't want to deal with any of this. So we just, and actually the pandemic was not good for me, because all I did was go back to Palm Springs and play golf every day for 2 years and party too much. And it was just a total waste of time. So we came back this past summer. So gosh darn. Well, anyways, we're building it. So I said, let's make it 5 stars. So we gutted we have 12 bedrooms. We have a 7,000 square foot house. Then we have an additional 7 bedrooms detached. We gutted everything. We're turning it into a 5-star resort. We're building the pool and the gym and the spa and the wellness center. So we won't officially start doing retreats till September 30th. And it's a 2-week retreat. We will allow people, if they beg us and they're desperate, if they just want to come for the physical detox week, we'll let them do that. If they just want to come from the spiritual consciousness, plant medicine week, we'll let them do that. But ideally, if they want the full enchilada and they really want lasting transformation, we discount them to come for both weeks. So we start September 30th. Now, I will tell you this, the retreats that we have done, let me tell you a little bit about plant medicine so you can Google this as true. So I already mentioned the PTSD and the amazing breakthroughs these guys are having. There's a place in Costa Rica called Rhythmia. They have 80 people a week that go there and do plant medicine 4 nights a week. And they have miracle after miracle after miracle. Many Americans, many Westerners, many Europeans, the oncologist said, hey man, sorry, nothing more we can do. Get your affairs in order. They come down here and they do the plant medicine and they have amazing breakthroughs. So I really believe that the people that are fortunate enough to come to this 2-week retreat are going to open their heart like it's never been opened before. They're going to understand how this works. We're going to erase any bad habits, their neural pathways that they got bad habits. We're going to erase them, install good ones. They're going to really feel better. Their energy is going to go through the roof after this physical detox. And they're going to, I hope, through my process of manifestation and a lot of that kind of work, find their true purpose, find their true calling, find their true love, and be strong enough to go back home and whatever's going on. And like we talked earlier, I think we are headed for some tough time. So the stronger we can get physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, the more drugs we can get off, medicine drugs we can get off of. And the stronger we can become, I think it's important for the next few years to be able to weather whatever's coming our way. I don't think, I think we're still got some things to go through here. So I just feel like, hey, the stronger I am, and I'm not relying on medications, or if everything I need is within, no matter where I go and no matter what happens, I'm going to be okay.
Yeah. And I think you're holding that vision, right? And I think that it's going to come into manifestation. And just as far as like plant medicine, I experimented with, I microdosed for about a year. I didn't do like a full on trip in any way, but just even that, like microdosing, my anxiety went from like a 10 to like a 3. right? And
There you
that in
go.
itself, and the ability to, in those moments, like journal or meditate and like
Yes.
rewire that subconscious, I truly believe
Yes.
made the shift for me in my personal life. So I'm absolutely like behind and I think
Amen.
there's been so much
Mhm.
evidence and proof, right, that it does work
You
and it
know,
helps.
Rochelle, it's natural medicine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, listen,
I think you turned off your mic.
am I back? Am I
Yeah,
back?
yeah.
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Yeah. So I have this little heart problem I'm dealing with,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so they want to put you on all these medications. I'm going, no, 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 no. So I'm doing more meditation and I'm figuring out how to deal with this, right? Now I'm not, listen, there's good parts about Western medicine and there's bad parts. There's good parts about natural medicine and there's good and bad, right? So there's good and bad in everything. So I'm not knocking that, but what I've seen when it comes to cancer, especially because that's where I spent a lot of time and energy, 9 years with my late wife, and then 4 or 5 years with all these women. It's there's a lot of flaws in that. So I just tell people, hey, you got to do your own research. You got to make your own decision. But at the end of the day, if you can find a natural way, even though it's going to be maybe a little more difficult, okay, and take a little longer to heal, you're not going to have the side effects. Because I don't care what the medicine is, you Google it, there's a bunch of side
Mm-hmm.
effects, and those, I mean, heck, I'll give you an example. When I'm 35, I go to the doctor, and he goes, "Hey, man, your blood pressure is a little high." Yeah, he goes, "But it's no big deal. You just take these pills for the rest of your life. You'll be fine." All right. Well, it turns out, okay, that those pills have caused some other problem after 30
Mm-hmm.
years. Now, they didn't start hurting me right away, but after 30 years of this toxicity, and I just had a heavy metal test, and I'm like, I have mercury poisoning, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's so many things we need to know, because the truth is we all want to feel good. But when we're not feeling good, we need to find the root cause, functional medicine, as opposed to write a prescription medicine.
Mm-hmm.
Let's find out what the cause is. And so 30 years ago, if the guy said, "Hey, why you're 35? Why the heck do you got high blood pressure?" And we started figuring that out instead of, "Hey, just
Yeah.
take these pills." But I'm like everybody else in this microwave society. I want it now. I want it easy
Mm-hmm.
and now. So, but the truth is, the world doesn't work like that. If I plant an acorn today, it's going to be quite some time till I see that oak tree, right? So that's the way that's the manifestation process. We plant a seed and we wait, we water it, and then we reap whatever comes out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think it's so important to question it, because like you said, you go to the doctor and they're just quick to write prescriptions, but it's never like what's going on in your life or how was your childhood. Like my daughter dealt with chronic ear
Right.
infections. Like we were at the ER like so many times during the year, and she became immune to the antibiotics. And I went and studied gut health later in life, like after
Yes.
she had grown up. But I think the thing that did it was I went vegan. And so she stopped dairy, and literally she's never had them
Got
again.
better.
Yeah. And so it's just like
And,
weird
and,
things.
and the doctor gets 3 hours of 4 years of med school, he gets 3 hours of nutrition. What's more
Mm,
important than what we put in our body?
yeah.
What
Yeah.
I love about down here in Colombia, when I go to a doctor here, it's the 30-minute consultation.
Mm-hmm.
You go to a doctor in America, I mean, if they're with you 2 or 3 minutes, they're
Yeah.
chomping at the bit to go to the next room,
Right.
right?
And
Because
you're
they need
waiting
to
30
they need
minutes
to
for
churn
that.
and burn.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so just FYI, in 2002, the World Health Organization did a survey of every country in the world, and this is 20 years ago. Colombia was 22nd in the world. The United States was 37th. I'm
Mm,
told they just did another one. We're down to like 17th, and the United States is like in the 50s. So,
mm,
so and by the way, it's 80% less down here too.
yeah.
Especially dental work. So many of my friends come down here for dental work because it's better and cheaper. So that's just a
Mm-hmm.
little commercial.
Yeah. Well, hopefully things are shifting, and I hope people are waking up, because I think, yeah, we blindly take what our doctors say as truth. And like you said, there's so much beauty in it too, but also like, if you best, right? Like, your body. And so it's like really
Yes.
question if something
Yes.
doesn't feel right, then trust that.
Yeah.
My final question
Yeah.
to you, are you, so, we've talked about so much, and we talked about, those meditations, those theta brainwave audios and the intentions. Are you still actively using those on a daily basis in your own practice?
Yeah. I absolutely, but I do it differently. You know, I've been doing it since 1982, right? So what I do now, so I do have some health issues. So that's what I record, a powerful health intention. Okay. Everything else, like my retreat center, I just speak it into existence. Okay. I don't have to write it down. I don't have to record it. And I don't recommend this for everybody because, you know, if you have a big goal, your family's going to knock it, your friends are going to knock it. The truth of the matter is, you know, most people are going to knock you before they support you. Right. So if it's something big, if your dream is big, I say keep it private and nurture it and, you know, manifest it and then tell people. For me, I just tell people I'm doing it. What have I done? I've created a lot of leverage. I've now I have to do it, right? So that's how I do it now. So I just say, hey man, we're building this amazing retreat center. Now my team, you know, I encourage them to do this, and especially more importantly for their personal life, you know, because everybody wants to manifest what? Either more wealth, better health, or love. Those are the three biggies, right? So I really encourage them to manifest that because, you know, our job is I put family and health before the job, right? So, but I just speak it now, honestly.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing everything tonight. It's been really amazing to have this conversation with you. Where can everyone find you? And if you have any last words for any of the listeners?
So last words, I would just say, listen, the world needs you. You're a powerful creator. Contemplate moving from the head to the heart. If the heart's been broken before and hurt, I get it. Work on opening it. There's tons of resources. You know, almost every book is free on Google somewhere, YouTube. I mean, there's so many great teachers. You know, my favorite is Dr. Joe Dispenza. Oh, you can just teachings on YouTube for free. His meditation, Byron Katie, Bruce Lipton. These are the people that are changing people, transformation that lasts. So do it. You can do it. We need you. The world needs you. We all need to wake up. So many people are suffering, and let's just see what we can do to make the world a little better place. Finding me, I have my personal website is MikeMurphyUnfiltered.com. Our retreat center here in Columbia is mountainsofhope.com. And our nonprofit foundation, Oakland, California, is Love from Margot, MARGOT.org. There you have it.
And I'll have everything in the show notes for everyone to just like go down there and click. So
well,
thank
Rochelle,
you so much.
You are a beautiful, bright light, and thank you so much for having me.
Oh, thank you, Mike.